the original company, me and my brother went together, and we actually started with WE Services. So William and Earl, and then in 2000 or 2001, then we bought out Abyssal, which was an existing company, right? And then, my brother, who worked around the province for BC Hydro, tended not to be here. And basically, over time, we bought him out, and he, helps out every now and then, but pretty much it's been mine for the last 15 years or so. I probably have, I would imagine, somewhere around 1,500, 2,000 hours of underwater, time in over the last, 32 years. It can be sort of stated as an addiction. We did more and more of it. And there is people out there that definitely, and friends of mine that I know, that have way more underwater time than that. But, that still is a significant amount. I can read the water fairly well, so, I tend to be able to, and, over 30 years of diving here, and understanding the currents and what they're going to do and what they should do, and we don't always get it right, but, more often than not, we do get it so that we're getting people at the right times on the right sites, and they do get, a fairly lengthy dive, because we do play with some of the strongest currents in the world here. And so, if you're getting in at the wrong time, your dives are very short. I have limitations because of a workplace injury, where I'm down now to, I have 20 degrees use of my knee after, two surgeries, one which was a total knee replacement, and a revision and a manipulation all in there. So I have limited use of my leg, which means I can't straighten it, I can't bend it. I tend to walk, on crutches. Anytime I'm walking any length, I have the crutches to walk. One, because otherwise my other hip and my knee, which is taking the brunt now of not being able to walk the way I normally do, right, then start to hurt. So sometimes I need to stop and rest, and so I can continue on. I've adapted, so that I can run my boat, which I can do on my small boat easier than my large boat, because it's just simply one level in, where I can sit and run the boat, and I'm not, really expected to do a lot of lifting or moving or anything else like that. So, a lot of my clientele has been really great, and helping out in varying ways. Like when I put my floater suit on, I can't get down to, either get my boots on if I'm wearing boots. I might need help pulling them up, and I can't put the floater suit over top of it and zip it up by myself because I can't get down there. So I've got clientele that I'll ask, and they'll help out, and they carry all the tanks in and out of the boathouse because, again, I can't walk and carry tanks. So, I put a little bit more into my clientele, and I very much appreciate that they do, help out. But other than that, the running of the boat, it's all right there. But, things like wrenching my boats, I can't do. So now I'm paying, mechanics to do things like, change the oil or change the leg oil or do zincs or that, because I simply can't kneel down or do any of that sort of wrenching stuff. But, a certain amount of the stuff, like just the running of the boat, I can do. And I still, can see and read the water and to be able to, know when to put people in, etc. But, I can't do as much as I used to do, but I can at least still do some of what I really enjoy doing. Campbell River is actually a spectacular area to dive in because we have such strong currents. Seymour Narrows at its peak will hit 15.7 knots. You also have the nutrients that the current carries. So that, filters down onto all of the different dive sites. And so then we have spectacular life, onto the walls. And, a lot of our different dive sites actually have different ecosystems, even though they're in the same, if you want to say 2 kilometer stretch, the dive sites themselves are uniquely different. As in Steep Island is the only place that I know of that we've found so far where there's a giant wall of giant purple tube worms, right? Runs from, like 10 meters down to 30 meters, and it runs for probably 15 or 20 meters. So it's just great big square wall of purple tube worms. But you can see small bunches of them on other sites, but not to the extent of that, right? So that's why, we always say that, our walls are so covered with life that you couldn't actually put a finger out without harming something. Our water temperature is somewhere around, well, it's usually between 8 degrees Celsius to 11 degrees Celsius at 30 meters year round. So the bottom water, that we're normally diving in, really doesn't change just winter to summer, right? Only the top few feet change. I do believe it's because of the temperature of the water and that you get more of a green color to the water here. And that's why they actually refer to all along the coast up here as like the Emerald Sea. Like any other job you do, once you've done it for so many years, you tend to get better at it. My benefit is because I've been here and diving and running charters, diving for 32 years and running charters for like 27 now. I have a tendency to be able to understand and because I've seen it a lot, what the water will do and what the currents are doing and, how they're running, and the currents here change every day. They're either going up or they're going down. So it also changes what goes on the dive site. I feel blessed that this is, one of the premier dive sites, in the world, for cold water diving. And, and it's in my backyard. I get to do it all the time. And if I'm not in the water actively diving, then, just the fact that I can be at the surface, watching eagles and seeing sea lions and whales and seals, on every dive. I continue to do this because I just enjoy being with people, and seeing and meeting different people and going out and, sharing our area and having people come up, from the dives, and some of them are extremely ecstatic about, what they saw, what they found. It's just a tremendous feeling to, be part of, people's experiences.
Was that dope? I know. Dude, that was fucking cool.
Earl's such an awesome guy that just great. He knows his tides and currents like no other. So he drops us in at the perfect places on the perfect tide. So we have a great dive with very little current. There's every color under the rainbow that you could imagine down there. People are always like, it's so dark and you can't see anything. I'm like, no, it's the opposite. And when I show people photos and videos, they are just like, this is unbelievable. I can't literally put my finger on the wall without touching something that's alive. Well, I think it's everywhere in Campbell River. Like, it's just, we go to so many dive sites. I think we have at least, I don't even know, probably 10 dive sites we go to on a fairly regular basis, and it's everywhere here. It's just Campbell River, especially Campbell River and north is like just known for its high tides, and so that those colors and that life that's up here. Whereas Vancouver, I just did a dive there recently, and it was like, oh my gosh, I used to dive in this. It was kind of boring in a way, but I think it's because the water's a lot more like stagnant, not moving as much. So. I just love the adventure of it. I love the social piece of it, being on the dive boats, talking about all the fun things that you found, having those shared experiences with people underwater where you can actually communicate is pretty interesting. So we have different signs that we use to communicate, but being able to share this experience and be really in the moment, I think, is really what diving's all about for me. You totally forget about everything in your life, but you're just focused on that octopus or that wolf eel or that nudibranch, and I think all your worries just go away and you just appreciate and love the ocean. So like, just makes you love it so much. So we use lots of different signs. Okay, something's wrong, like my ear's bothering me. I actually invented one here for Campbell River because the currents are so crazy, and so we actually use this with my buddies because the currents can get quite strong and pick up, and so we might have to change with the current. So we go, currents going that way, so we'll swim that way. Octopus, wolf eel, crab, yeah, lots of fun ones. So when I first started diving, I remember back on the mainland in our like dive club, I was like the only girl and young woman, I guess, there was a group of 10, 15 older divers, and the experiences and the stories they had to tell were amazing. And that's, I think, also what inspired me to continue diving and get into diving even more. But starting from there, I started to encounter a couple more divers. So this was like, again, 10 years ago. And coming up to Campbell River, like almost all of my dive buddies now are females. And so it's just incredible to see that it's becoming more accessible to women and more women are getting into it. All of a sudden, within 3 minutes, this octopus, I had just, through the kelp, was sitting right there out in the open. Yeah, I was so excited. I call my dive buddies over. I'm like, look, do you see the octopus? And yeah, they all were right there and watching it, and it had climbed all over this person that had never seen an octopus before. It was all on his body, covering his regulator, on his mask. And so I was like, luckily I had my camera and was snapping a ton of photos and videos. So I'm like, this person is going to want to remember this experience. So it was just so incredible. And then the octopus crawled off of him. And so I moved in to take some photos and videos, and then it just started coming towards me, and it climbed. I held my camera like this, and it just started crawling, like putting its tentacles up on the camera, exploring the camera, and then it just continuous. It came right up and fully engulfed my camera system, spread, like it was spread out over it, and tentacles were reaching through and like up on my face and on my regulator. And it was just so, like, I have no words to describe how amazing it was. And it would crawl off of me, and so then my dive buddies would go take some photos, and they were a little bit more apprehensive than I was. I was like, yes, I can't believe it. At one point it was like engulfing my body and giving me, they said it was fully wrapped around my body. It had come up over my mask and covering my mask and regulator. Yeah, its tentacles were on my lips, like feeling like little vacuum cleaners sucking my lips. It was so fun. When I first posted it on Facebook, I was sharing it with just family and friends. I'm just an amateur photographer that doesn't have a social media account per se. And so I sent it in, and people were like, oh, you gotta send this into the news. And finally I'm like, okay, a couple days later. And so sent it into the news, and it's just gone incredibly viral. Like, just every day I'm getting more and more media requests. And for me being an amateur photographer, I've had to now, not had to, but I've chosen to create like an Instagram account and like trying to upload more YouTube videos, and it's a lot of work, I'm not gonna lie. It's almost like a treasure hunt to go down and try and find what you can see. Like, can you find an octopus? Can you find a wolf eel? Can you find this certain nudibranch? Can you find this fish? So I think that kind of unexpectedness of it is just so thrilling. It's like that thrill of finding things. So typically when you're looking in dive sites, you're not going fast, you're going really slow. So you're taking your flashlight, you want to look in every nook and cranny because there may be something hiding in there. An octopus, a grunt sculpin, different kinds of fish. So you got to be really careful when you're looking and take your time. A site would be what you can cover in like approximately an hour. So there's different dive sites. So for example, we have Row and Be Damned, and so it's a certain location that Earl would drop you in at, and then you dive for your hour, and he tells you which way the currents are gonna go, and so then you follow that site until you run out of air. You do the dive site until your time is up, and then you come up to the surface. So it's how far you can cover. I'd say it's not very big as you would think. It's probably 200 feet, maybe, if I was guessing. It is a whole nother ecosystem, and that we have to protect it. I'm one of those divers that dive, and Earl knows I come up carrying like all sorts of different garbage and stuff that I find under the water, whether it's fishing lines or broom handles or bottles that people have thrown out. So we just got to be really careful about the environment and what we're doing to our oceans, and we need to protect it because the changes that we're seeing in the oceans is quite worrisome, and we don't know what the impacts of that are going to be on us as human beings. So making sure we're really protecting that incredible underwater world. Being able to share it with people who haven't seen it before. So that's why I've been taking those photos and videos and sharing it with family and friends, and now maybe a little bit more into the world. It's been an interesting experience having like people I don't know sharing these photos with strangers. It's great though, because I think people have been really excited about sharing it. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep taking them, and keep taking them for myself, and if something comes of it, great, and if not, no worries.